Hello, psychos. Today we're going to learn how to pick pockets, which has everything to do with consciousness, really, directing someone's attention, distracting them while you remove their wallet or whatever. And I hope this is not something any of you actually do, but we're going to learn something from an expert pickpocket here shortly. But first, let's dive into consciousness and attention. A few details. Subliminal perception, first of all, literally means below threshold, because liminal is threshold. And the question is, can you slip information into somebody's head without them even being aware of it, right? Like subliminal advertising. And they have done some research on this, believe it or not, back in the day. And I think in the 50s, 40s, they did a little bit. One of the more famous ones, they flashed popcorn on the screen for a split second while people watched Gone with the Wind or something. It was so brief of a flash of the popcorn during the movie, people didn't notice. So it was a fraction of a second. And then their operational definition, remember, you need to operationally define your variables. They needed a way of measuring their success or whether it worked, measuring the dependent variable. So how do you think they operationally defined the response of the audience? Popcorn sales. So they compared it to a control group where they didn't flash the subliminal message during the movie, and they reported that they did in fact find an increase in popcorn sales, throughout that 2 hours, 3 hours of the movie, compared to the control group where they didn't flash the popcorn. Follow-up studies, however, found that that using subliminal advertising is not really as effective as just advertising. Just like before the movie starts, hey, go buy some popcorn. The movie's about to start. In any case, but it seems to have some effect, but not to the extent that people used to think back in the 20th century, in the 50s and 60s. Some had big fears that you could sort of brainwash people using these subliminal messages and such. So yeah, not as scary as that. All right, so here's some examples though of how people have used it in advertising. In this case, Gilby's Gin is being advertised here. Do you see anything peculiar about the advertisement? I know it's a little pixelated. I apologize. It's the cleanest version I could find. Pause the video if you want to look further, but the answer is that in the ice, you'll notice that it spells SEX. So yeah. Now, why would they do that? It's kind of obvious once I point it out, isn't it? SEX. Now, why would they do that? Some would say that subconsciously you see that, even though not consciously perhaps, and that maybe you associate that with the label. By repeatedly seeing it in the magazine, every time you get the magazine you're flipping through, maybe you would associate that with their label, and I don't know. So maybe they're just doing it to mess with people, who knows. In this ad from Palmolive, see if you find anything peculiar about that. Once you see it, it should be obvious, but pause if you need more time. But you may notice that her right arm looks kind of muscular and maybe like it doesn't belong to her. So yeah, she's getting a little help, I guess, in the bathtub. Yeah, and this is I think obvious to everyone that this would be Coca-Cola, but along the top of the can here in the shape of a woman, the ice, just to kind of make it a little more intriguing for some. But you might not notice it immediately. So yeah, subliminal advertising might be done, but it's not like something that's going to overpower your decision making, is really the conclusion from that, like they used to think. Now, it's important to understand that when we talk about consciousness, these days, more and more, they call this, the subtitle of this topic is the two-track mind, because it seems that our older, more primitive brain is more subconscious, sort of unconscious, instinctual kind of stuff. You don't think about consciously. But simultaneously, at the same time, you have a conscious track where you are thinking about it. And it seems that when we process something or process information, we might be thinking about it consciously at the same time as you are unconsciously. It's a little similar to what we mentioned about the sensation and perception with vision, and how seeing, you see what something is consciously, but also there's a different track through your brain that's processing where it is and where it's moving, but that's a completely separate track. Well, these work simultaneously in dual processing too. And by the way, don't get that mixed up with parallel processing. A similar concept. Parallel processing is where you simultaneously process various features of what you're looking at. So for example, if you're listening to you're listening to a song, you're processing the rhythm, but also, perhaps unconsciously, you're thinking about the meaning of the lyrics and the melody, and all of that is simultaneously being processed. All the various features of what you're looking at or listening to is being processed. So it's related to that somewhat. But dual process is specifically talking about unconsciously and simultaneously consciously processing something as you consider it. To get a sense of this is kind of interesting. Go try this experiment out on somebody using this video perhaps. Get two subjects, maybe mom and dad or something, and in this case have one of your subjects while the other one's not present. Don't read the word. Tell them that. Have them read these instructions. You won't read the word on the next from the list, and what you need to do is name the colors of the font of each word as fast as you can from left to right, one row at a time, and then time them. Set a timer and go. So they would say the colors, not the words. And try it yourself. Try to say the colors as fast as you can from left to right. It's difficult. Pause if you need more time. And then maybe go try to have someone, another subject, do this, and in this time have them read the words, disregard the colors, and time them. And you'll find that reading it goes a lot faster than trying to name the colors. When you try to name the colors, it's something called the Stroop effect. I don't know if you ever need to know that, but it demonstrates how you can be tripped up and it slows you down because you got two processes at work. While you're trying to name the colors as fast as you can, consciously, subconsciously, your brain is also trying to read it because we're used to reading when we go left to right. And that is kind of hanging you up, and that lapse may trip you a little bit. In any case, yeah, we have a two-track mind, dual processing, and sometimes that creates problems, but usually it doesn't. Now, when we talk about attention and picking pockets, we definitely need to hear from this guy, Apollo. He's an expert pickpocket. This is a 10-minute video. I'm going to shorten it though, but watch carefully and prepare to have your mind blown.
Do you think it's possible to control someone's attention? Even more than that, what about predicting human behavior? I think those are interesting ideas if you could. I mean, for me, that'd be the perfect superpower. Actually, kind of an evil way of approaching it. But for myself, in the past, I've spent the last 20 years studying human behavior from a rather unorthodox way, picking pockets. When we think of misdirection, we think of something as looking off to the side, when actually it's often the things that are right in front of us that are the hardest things to see, the things that you look at every day that you're blinded to. For example, how many of you still have your cell phones on you right now? Great. Double check, make sure you still have them on you. I was doing some shopping beforehand. Now, you've looked at them probably a few times today, but I'm gonna ask you a question about them. Without looking at your cell phone directly yet, can you remember the icon in the bottom right corner? Bring them out, check, and see how accurate you were. How'd you do? Show of hands, did we get it? Now that you're done looking at those, close them down, because every phone has something in common. No matter how you organize the icons, you still have a clock on the front. So without looking at your phone, what time was it? You just looked at your clock, right? It's an interesting idea. Now I'll ask you to take that a step further with a game of trust. Close your eyes. I realize I'm asking you to do that while you just heard there's a pickpocket in the room, but close your eyes. Now, you've been watching me for about 30 seconds. With your eyes closed, what am I wearing? Make your best guess. What color is my shirt? What color is my tie? Now open your eyes. By show of hands, were you right? It's interesting, isn't it? Some of us are a little bit more perceptive than others. It seems that way. But I have a different theory about that model of attention. They have fancy models of attention, Posner's trendy model of attention. For me, I like to think of it very simple, like a surveillance system. It's kind of like you have all these fancy sensories, and inside your brain is a little security guard. For me, I like to call him Frank. So Frank is sitting at a desk. He's got all sorts of cool information in front of him.
I'm going to speed it up just a little bit so we can move ahead, but basically he's going to talk about some of the things we'll be addressing.
And yet you can recognize your name and you didn't even. Instead, what I choose to focus on is Frank, just to go at the same time that he's trying to process new data. I mean, this sounds like a good theory, but I could talk for a long time and tell you lots of things, and they may be true, a portion of them. But I think it's better if I try to show that to you here live. So, if I come down, I'm going to do a little bit of shopping. Just hold still where you are. Hello, how are you? It's lovely to see you. You did a wonderful job on stage. You have a lovely watch that doesn't come off very well. Do you have your ring as well? Good, just taking inventory. You're like a buffet. It's hard to tell where to start. There's so many great things. Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Hi, sir, could you stand up for me, please? Just right where you are. Oh, you're married. You follow the directions well. That's nice to meet you, sir. You don't have a whole lot inside your pockets. Anything down by the pocket over here? Hopefully so. Have a seat. There you go. You're doing well. Hi, sir. How are you? Good to see you, sir. You have a ring, a watch. Do you have a wallet on you? Well, we'll find one for you. Come on up this way, Joe. Give Joe a round of applause. Come on up, Joe. Let's play a game. Pardon me. Don't think that you need this clicker anymore. You can have that. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Come on up to the stage, Joe. Let's play a little game. Now, do you have anything in your front pockets? Money. All right, let's try that. Can you stand right over this way for me? Turn around and let's see. If I give you something that belongs to me, this is just something, a half poker chip. Hold out your hand for me. Watch it kind of close. Now, this is a task for you to focus on. Now, you have your money in your front pocket here? Yep. Good. I'm not going to actually put my hand in your pocket. I'm not ready for that kind of commitment. One time a guy had a hole in his pocket, and that was rather traumatizing for me. I was looking for his wallet, and he gave me his phone number. It was a big miscommunication. So let's do this simply. Squeeze your hand. Squeeze it tight. Do you feel the poker chip in your hand? I do. Would you be surprised if I could take it out of your hand? Say yes? Very. Good. Open your hand. Thank you very much. I'll cheat if you give me a chance. Make it harder for me. Just use your hand. Grab my wrist, but squeeze. Squeeze firm. Did you see it go? No. No, it's not here. Open your hand. See, while we're focused on the hand, it's sitting on your shoulder right now. Go ahead and take it off. Now, let's try that again. Hold your hand out flat, open it up all the way. Put your hand up a little bit higher, but watch it close there, Joe. See, if I did it slowly, it'd be back on your shoulder. Joe, we're gonna keep doing this till you catch it. You're gonna get it eventually, I have faith in you. Squeeze firm, squeeze. You're human, you're not slow. It's back on your shoulder. You're focused on your hand, that's why you were distracted. While you were watching this, I couldn't quite get your watch off, it was difficult. Yet you had something inside your front pocket. Do you remember what it was? Check your pocket, see if it's still there. Is it still there? Oh, that's where it was. Go ahead and put it away. We're just shopping. This trick's more about the timing, really. I'm gonna try to push it inside your hand. Put your other hand on top for me, would you? It's amazingly obvious now, isn't it? It looks a lot like the watch I was wearing, doesn't it? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Oh, thanks. But it's only a start. Let's try it again a little bit differently. Hold your hands together, put your other hand on top. Now, if you're watching this little token, this obviously has become a little target. It's like a red herring. If we watch this kind of close, it looks like it goes away. It's not back on your shoulder. It falls out of the air, lands right back in the hand. Did you see it go? It's funny. Got a little guy, he's union. He works up there all day. If I did it slowly, if it goes straight away, it lands down by your pocket. I believe, is it in this pocket, sir? No, don't reach in your pocket. That's a different show. Sorry, that's rather strange. They have shots for that. And can I show them what that is? That's rather bizarre. Is this yours, sir? I have no idea how that works. We'll just send that over there. That's great. I need help with this one. Step over this way for me. Now, don't run away. You had something down by your pants pocket. I was checking mine. I couldn't find everything. But I noticed you had something here. Feel the outside of your pocket for a moment. Down here, I noticed this. Is this something of yours, sir? Is this... I had no idea. That's a shrimp.
Yeah, saving it for later.
You've entertained all these people in a wonderful way. Better than you know. So we'd love to give you this lovely watch as a gift. Hopefully it matches his taste. But also we have a couple of other things, a little bit of cash.
Yep.
And then we have a few other things. These all belong to you, along with a big round of applause from all your friends. Joe, thank you very much. So, same question I asked you before, but this time you don't have to close your eyes. What am I wearing?
Yeah. So this dude changed right in front of your eyes. Did you notice? Did you see him change? He was distracting you, just like he was distracting Joe with the chip and taking his wallet and his watch. he was distracting us, but we were watching that. Meanwhile, he's removed his tie. He has a completely different shirt on, no vest. In any case, yeah, it's about directing and controlling that attention that is important. You only have so much attention, and multitasking is an illusion. If you think you can do it, research shows people don't do it nearly as well as they think, which is why driving and texting is dangerous. So it's all about attention, and it's a limited amount of attention. You only have so much. You don't have 360 degrees of omniscience, as they say. Now, there was a series of studies you may have heard of before. Check this out. This is something about perceptual blindness, where sometimes we can be blind to kind of some things that are obvious. This is a shorter video, but just pay attention to the instructions. And the commercial.
Irish Spring Body Wash. Earn your shower.
Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball.
All right, let's see if you get this right. Wearing white, pass the basketball.
How many passes did you count?
Well, we don't really care, do we? Because there was something else going on there, wasn't there? Maybe you noticed, but a good many people did not. This was, it's kind of become popular now. It kind of went viral, but when they originally did this study, a lot of people just didn't notice that a guy in a gorilla suit walked right through the middle of them. Now, if you didn't see that, go back and watch it. There's a guy in a gorilla suit. And in the research, when they actually did this as an experiment, a good many people don't even notice because they're so focused with their attention on the people in the white shirts and trying to get it right and counting how many passes there are. So we can be perceptually blind, not literally blind, but perceptually blind, or inattentional blindness. It's also called synonym alert. So inattentional blindness, where we overlook the obvious sometimes. We're blind to things right in front of our face, hidden in plain sight, as they say. Something similar to it is something called change blindness. Change blindness, it's a form of inattentional or perceptual blindness. They don't notice something change that's an obvious change. So what you saw here is how they conducted the actual experiments, where they would change who they're talking to, and most people didn't even notice obvious differences in who they're talking to. So yeah. Now, something related to this is the cocktail party effect, which is like you're at a cocktail party, right? There's a bunch of conversations going on all around you, and you're paying attention to that person you're talking to, right? You're trying to focus on them. But you're filtering out all this other stimuli, but you are taking it in unconsciously. Again, part of that dual process we were talking about. And you didn't even realize that you were attending to all these other conversations around you. How do they know? They've tested this in a variety of things, and they find that when they ask to people to recall some of the things, they can actually find that they did hear it. They didn't even realize that they were listening to this other conversation over here. So what the cocktail party effect is basically where we unconsciously attend to extraneous stimuli. In other words, we unconsciously are paying attention to other conversations around us or other stimuli around us when we're not even aware of it. So you are seeing things. It's subliminal in a way. It slips into your mind unconsciously. You weren't even aware of it. So, again, dual process. You're focusing on that person in front of you consciously and what she's saying, but unconsciously you're actually processing this other stuff too. If somebody says your name or something that you're really interested in, it suddenly cuts through the filter and you're like, wait, what are y'all talking about? And, it grabs your attention. But you can then realize that, oh yeah, I was paying attention. I didn't even realize it because I heard what they said. Now, this is an important vocabulary term, dissociation. Not disassociation, dissociation. I like to define it as disconnected consciousness because it kind of sounds like that, right? Disconnect in your consciousness. Remember, it was William James, the functionalist, who talked about streams of consciousness. And when a stream is flowing and it hits like a tree or a rock, it splits. Well, our conscious mind will split like that too. It disconnects. There's a variety of examples you're familiar with. Daydreaming is a classic one. So your mind's wandering and meandering, and then it splits off while you're doing some other task. Again, dual processing. So you're attending to one thing that you're doing, but then you start thinking about other things and you're still attending to what you're doing, like driving while thinking about other things. So it's a form of disconnected consciousness. Now, sometimes we intentionally do dissociation, like meditation. You put yourself in an altered state of consciousness that way, or hypnosis. You go through techniques in which you induce trance-like state, and those are all forms of dissociated consciousness. And later we'll talk about multiple personality problems, DID, dissociated identity disorder. Split personalities is an extreme form of dissociation you probably don't want. Now, in terms of hypnosis, a few things about it real quick. It's somewhat of a controversial topic in psychology. There's a good many that believe it's a real dissociated state, but there are some psychologists who scoff at that and question it. I just cut to the chase. Those who do scoff at it, Spanos is one of the leading psychologists in that area. Not that you need to know his name, but histrionic personalities. They found that some people who have a more histrionic personality is like they're kind of dramatic. They're prone to fantasy, highly imaginative people, highly dramatic, kind of drama queens in extreme cases. So hysterical. So histrionic types of personalities are more susceptible to hypnosis, they found, and they think it may be role play. Like they've seen it on TV before, they've heard of hypnosis and what it's supposed to look like when you're under hypnosis. So they're going along with it, and they may not realize that they're just playing a role. They may convince themselves they really are being hypnotized when they're not. So it's role play theory, which is challenges whether hypnosis is a legit state of dissociated trance. But as I said, most psychologists do think it's legit, so let's get to that. I just wanted to get that out of the way. The most common use of it by professionals is not making people cluck like a chicken on stage. It's for pain management. Typically, it's things like that, help putting you in a dissociated state so you can cope with pain if the meds aren't working, So pain management, most common. But there are other ones too, like disinhibition. Now, the word inhibition is, restrained or inhibited. Like if, for example, if you're socially inhibited, someone who has really intense social anxiety, they're socially inhibited, restrained. In other words, they need to learn to relax. So they might go see a hypnotist, or a therapist that does this, and it helps them disinhibit or relax. So maybe in certain social situations, they visualize speaking in public and, doing things like that to disinhibit them and help them relax in social settings. Just to give you an example. Heightened suggestibility. Putting people in a dissociated trance, you can plant ideas or suggestions while they're under hypnosis. You can alter their senses somewhat, like make somebody see things or hear things while under hypnosis that may not be real. I'm going to give you an example of that in a second. There's also something called post-hypnotic amnesia, where you can sort of say that you'll forget. On the count of 3, I'm going to bring you back to awake, and you'll forget that we had this conversation. 1, 2, 3. So they kind of do this post-hypnotic amnesia. And speaking of amnesia and memory, sometimes they can use hypnosis to try to help people recall things that they've repressed or don't remember, where they put something or whatever. So those are some of the other things that hypnosis might do. But let me show you somebody under hypnosis. And they're being put under hypnosis by Philip Zimbardo. Remember that guy, the prison study fellow? We're not going to watch the whole thing. I'm just going to show you the part where they put them under hypnosis. Check it out. It's pretty wild.
To be hypnotized or hypnotize themselves can experience remarkable changes in perception, memory, emotions, behavior, and bodily functions. You are in deep hypnosis. The hypnotist is merely a coach facilitating the optimal performance of the subject. Michael, because you're highly hypnotizable, we can begin our hypnosis session today without any elaborate induction. In fact, all we have to do is have you concentrate on the target, which is your thumb. As I move your hand down, just allow a state of deep relaxation to enter your body. You feel very comfortably relaxed. Just let yourself go into a very deep, full, comfortable state of hypnosis. Get into a very deep, comfortable state of relaxation. And you know that under hypnosis, you're able to change certain aspects of reality, to visualize things and have those images influence how you think, feel, and act. Now, what I'd like to do is a consumer survey. I have here 2 colognes, a French cologne, which is described as flowery. And I'd like you to smell that, and then I'd like you to compare it with a second cologne. I'd like you to take a deep smell of this, Michael. How would you describe that?
It's pleasant. It's kind of flowery.
Do you think it's something you might wear?
No.
Why?
It's okay, but it's a bit sweet. It's nice.
Michael, I'd like you now to sample the second cologne. This is a California cologne described as musky. I'd like you to take a deep whiff of this one.
It's more musky. I think it's a bit more masculine.
Which of the 2 do you like better?
I would probably wear the second one.
Want to take another smell of it?
Yeah, please.
Okay, I'm going to tap you on your shoulder, and when I do, you're going to be alert and refreshed because I'd like you to sample the colognes again. Okay?
Okay.
Here's the first one, the French cologne. Tell me what you think of it now.
It's nice. It smells a little different than when I was hypnotized. It smelled a little sweeter then, but it's okay. That's fine.
Would you wear it?
Maybe, but it's a little light for me.
Okay, and here's the second one, the California cologne. Tell me what you think of it now.
Oh, no. Oh. No. That's awful.
See what that is?
Ammonia. Ooh, no, I think that's something I wouldn't wear.
But you just said that you prefer this, that it smelled musky and masculine.
It smelled a little better in hypnosis.
Psychologists generally believe that hypnosis is a special form of dissociated consciousness. Mike's expectation that he will smell 2 colognes blocks the usual sensory response to the ammonia.
You said it was a cologne and then it smelled nice, and when I concentrated on that fact, it really did smell okay. It really worked. I thought it smelled great.
After hypnosis, the subject may follow a post-hypnotic suggestion and may have a thought or feeling without conscious knowledge of its hypnotically suggested source, or experience post-hypnotic amnesia, forgetting selected events by suggestion. Hypnosis can also affect biological functioning. One of the most important practical applications of hypnosis is in pain control, used in surgery, dentistry, and childbirth. We'd like to demonstrate the power of hypnosis to alter consciousness and pain control. Laura's entering a deep state of hypnosis, and as she does, she's generating an image which dissociates her consciousness from the immediate environment. Mark, who's not going to be hypnotized, is going to be the control. I'm going to put both of their hands in this ice water, and as I do, they're going to give me a rating from 0 to 10, indicating how distressful it feels. 0 is nothing, 5 is moderate pain, and 10 is the limit of your pain tolerance, at which point I'd like you to take your hand out. So let's time it. I'm going to start the clock now. Laura, what is your rating?
2.
Laura?
1.
3.
Laura?
1.
4.
Laura?
5.
Laura?
1.
7.
Laura?
1.
9.
Laura?
1.
Just try to keep it in as long as you can.
9.
Good. Laura?
1.
9.
Good. Laura?
1.
10.
Laura?
1.
Despite the evidence.
All right, so pain management. By the way, this power of suggestion to sort of, suggest it's not painful or smell ammonia as if it were perfume. I wanted to mention the pain thing. You may remember in sensation perception there was the theory called gate control theory, which is that you can mentally close the gate on pain. Using dissociation tactics, and that's an example of it. So you close that mental gate on the pain, possibly by distracting yourself or being under hypnosis. So just one last thing is, in terms of mind-altering drugs, they can affect our consciousness too, of course. And you can pause this if you need, but you can look at these and the type it is. It's interesting. A lot of people don't realize alcohol is actually a depressant. And that's because probably think, at a party, somebody's all wild if they've been drinking. But the thing is, when somebody's been drinking a lot, it disinhibits them, like we said with hypnosis. So they're relaxed more, but it is a depressant. It's calming them. It's depressing their nervous system. It's parasympathetic. Remember, parasympathetic is the part that calms you, whereas sympathetic is hyping you up, if you remember the autonomic nervous system responses from earlier. In any case, you can check out this as far as the drug effects go and how they affect us various ways. So that is consciousness